Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Enchanting Lawyer podcast. This is your host, Jacob Sapochnik, and I'm actually recording this from the French Alps. I'm here in France, and I am I've been spending here about a week now, and meeting exciting people. And our guest today is an amazing person. He's an innovator in social media, and I'll introduce him in a few minutes. Our guest today is Joel Comm. He's an entrepreneur, New York Times best-selling author, and a new media innovator. He's also an expert on harnessing the power of the web, publishing, social media, and mobile applications in order to expand your brand's reach and engage in active relationship marketing. He's a sought-after public speaker who leaves his audience inspired, entertained, and armed with strategic tools to create new media campaigns and more. And I think he just came back from Asia just recently. And Joel, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Jacob. Yeah, I did.
Right?
Well, I say just a week ago, I got back from Asia, and I'm still recovering from jet lag.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the same your shoes in about a week or so when
Yeah.
I'm back in the U.S. But I gave a little bit of an intro about you, but I think that a lot of my listeners who are attorneys and are always looking for new things, how to make their marketing, their reach, and making relationship with the customers and fellow attorneys. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, you are kind of a unique breed in social media because you've been doing this for many years, even before the web was what it is today. So why don't you kind of take us a little bit back and tell us how you started and what you do today?
Yeah, I got started 20 years ago, actually. My first website was in 1995, and there was only 18,000 sites in the world that year, and it just turned 20 years old. And since that time, I've done just about everything that's not illegal or immoral online, from affiliate marketing, blogging, podcasting, video creation, product creation, information products, and book authoring, speaking, application development, software development. And, I'm kind of like a kid with a pail and a shovel looking for a sandbox to play in. I just like trying different things and seeing what interests me. And I'm doing a lot of traveling and speaking right now, and hopefully inspiring entrepreneurs elsewhere to go and do likewise.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because I've been following you for a while, and you kind of over the years you transitioned from domain, getting into domain and websites, and then I think you had the first book on advertising on Google
Mm-hmm.
in the early 2000s, and then kind of transitioned into Twitter and social media. How do you keep up with the changes, and how do you know what to embrace and when?
Well, I can't keep up with all of them. Clearly, there's way
Right.
too much. But when something gets my attention, I take a look at it. I like to explore, and sometimes I get it right. Not always. Sometimes I'll investigate something that turns out it didn't pan out after all. But I think when you're willing to take risks and try new things, then you're going to hit success more often than somebody who's just stuck in one space. And so, I may make it look easy, but it's really just a lot of exploring and experimenting, playing around with things and seeing what works.
And I like when you say the risk factor because and basically taking a risk because a lot of people who are in the service industry, attorneys, CPAs, for us we learn in school that things are predictable. This is what you do, and then this is the outcome you may get. And social media and marketing, it's not like that. I'll give you my example of myself when I we built one of the largest Facebook communities in the world for any law firm. And the reason why I got into Facebook is because none of the attorneys around me were using Facebook. And I said, well, why don't I try this and see what happens? The worst case, I'll fail. And most of us are not thinking like that. So I think I commend you first of all for doing this. But I think the interesting thing about social media and the web is that we never know what's going to happen until we try it.
That's right.
And
It
right.
takes a risk. You have to step out if you want to do something different, then you have to try new things. It's just an entrepreneurial mindset. If you're not willing to do that, and if you're not willing to fail at it, then
Hmm.
you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. It's not.
Right.
It's probably not a good fit for you to be in business for yourself unless you're just going to stick with that one thing.
Absolutely. So if somebody's asking you today, what recommendations do you make when it comes to using social media for marketing any business? Let's say professionals or non-professionals. What are
Yeah,
some of the recommendations that you make?
really across the board, it's the same. Social media is really just the online element of how we build relationships. It's no different. We apply the same type of sociology to how we engage with others as we do in the real world, because really social media is the real world. And the fact is that in the real world we buy from people that we like, know, and trust. And I see again and again, from the small home-based entrepreneur to the big brands, they go out and they make the mistake of just telling people on social media, go buy our stuff. Well, we don't respond to go buy our stuff unless there's a relationship with the brand, with the product. And today, that means building relationships with the people behind the products and the brands. That's why the brands that are doing the best with social media have faces of real people that are managing their accounts, right? There's a connection with them that says, hey, these are real human beings here we can identify with, and they're not just selling us stuff, but they're engaging with us. They're having conversation about the things we like, the things we don't like. They're
Right.
sharing a piece of their lives with us in a way that we can emotionally connect with them. And so ultimately, it's not about the business, it's about the relationship. And social media has amplified and reinforced just how important relationships are, regardless of our business.
Right. And basically, people who are on social media today, they feel that they can say whatever they want. But in reality, is that you're not going to be rude to somebody in person. But for
Well,
some
some
reason,
people will be,
yeah,
some
some
are.
people will be, but it seems to me that more people feel that because online and they don't see you, they tend to be more rude and they tend to be more disrespectful, and that's not the case how it should be, because if you want to build a relationship that translate into business, you have to be kind, you have to be helpful, and I think that's what you've been doing all these years, reaching out and trying to give value, and that helps us amplify it, right? Using social
Yeah,
media.
really. It's totally about value first. Many years ago, probably 25, 26 years ago, I went to a Zig Ziglar seminar in
Uh-huh.
Dallas, Texas, and I learned from Zig that you get what you want in life when you help other people get what they want. And he also shared that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Hmm.
And so those principles haven't changed. Human nature hasn't changed. People want to know that they matter and that you're not just in it for what you can get. It's about giving, it's about doing good stuff, it's about making a difference and bringing value. And in social media, it could just be bringing value to the conversation. But conversation and communication, ideas are important, and the ability to share yourself, your thoughts, your feelings in a genuine, authentic way to engage with others is valuable, and it's more valuable than what you have to sell. But if you are able to engage with people on that level, when it does come time for a purchase, a transaction to
Hmm.
take place, people are more likely to buy from you inherently because they already like, know, and trust you.
Right. Exactly. And that still stand today, and that will continue to stand forever if people
Yes.
know how to use it. Yeah, Joe, I mean, I read a little bit about the stuff that you've done over the years, but I would like you to tell us, how did you grow your social following from the 90s? Because I think it's interesting, starting with your blog and through all the things that you've done. If you're willing to share that with us, that would be great.
I think longevity certainly counts for something, that I've been
Hmm.
doing it for a while, because I started blogging, I want to say in 2003. Now, I was creating content back in 1995, but back then we didn't call it a blog, we just called it a website. We didn't call it a blog until we had the platform that made it easy to publish.
Right.
Back then we hand coded in HTML to build our pages. So technically I've been creating content on the web for 20 years, which is a long time, but it's always the value. It's creating content that people actually want to read. It's creating content that is good enough that Google's going to rank it in their search engine so that people find you when they're looking for your type of information. And it's sharing that content. Now with social media,
Hmm.
having the share buttons on our pages makes it so much easier for people to share a link. It's all integrated. So we just say tweet this, post this on my Facebook page, pin this on Pinterest, and it has the opportunity to go way more viral a lot more quicker. And so having been in social media, as we call it, I'm
Right.
doing it in quotes here, since MySpace, on Twitter and Facebook since 2007. I've been at it for a while. And so as long as during that time you're consistently creating content, bringing value, and engaging with others in conversation, your following is going to grow. It's not rocket science. It's
Right.
really not. And some people try to make it way more difficult than it is, and they try to game the system by using automated tools and by using bots, and really that's just setting yourself up for failure. It doesn't serve any purpose to buy fake Facebook page likes
Sure.
or fake followers, because you're not going to have any engagement.
Right, and I think that you've said before. I think I read somewhere that when you write about social media on your blog and joelcomm.com and other places on Facebook, you talk about not just social media. You talk about your travels, the movies, some things that piss you off, and then you become people. You're open with people, and people see what your life is about, so they connect with you more. And I think that's really what attracts people to you because you're so open about everything else in your life, and I think social media is not just one sided. People want to see behind the person, and then they
Well,
continue to follow him.
yeah, I think it's important, Jacob, but also realize that I do have a private personal life. I
Right, right,
think
of course.
understanding, having healthy boundaries about what's appropriate for public consumption
Right,
and what is something to keep to yourself. There's a lot of things I don't post. You
of
don't see
course,
what I don't post.
of
There's
course.
opinions that I keep to myself. I very intentionally don't post things that are political or
Sure.
religious of nature. I have strong opinions. And, when I see one of my friends or associates, or somebody in business, posting a very strong opinion saying anybody who would vote for this person's a moron, or anybody who would believe this has got to be an idiot, I think to myself, you don't realize that you're offending a big portion of people who are following you.
Sure.
So, I choose not to do that. I'm gracious with it. I just don't comment, and I say, you know what, they're venting. But there's a lot of people that don't understand healthy boundaries for how to use social media in a way that is really socially appropriate.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and again, you have to be logical. You have to be smart about it, because you don't want to destroy the efforts you've done to build a community that values what you have to say in a professional way.
Well, and not only that, Jacob, but the people, the relationships we have are
Right.
more important than if somebody disagrees with us on a political issue. I've discovered I'm on one side of a political fence. I've got a lot of friends on the other side,
Sure.
and I value them for who they are as people. Just because they differ in me in a philosophical or political approach to some, ideology, that should not be the metric by which I decide if this person is going to be my friend or not. And, everybody's got to share their opinion, and it's important that they're right. And really, it's a maturity thing. And I think part of the problem, Jacob, is that we didn't grow up with social media,
Right.
right? This isn't like, we grew up, we had the VCR, so we understood, technology. We grew up with video games, so a new system, we intuitively
Absolutely.
understand how to use a controller. Social media is a relatively new thing, so you've got grown adults that all of a sudden have this toolbox with all these new tools, and they think that because they've got a hammer, everything's a nail. And that's not how it works.
Right. Absolutely. And and I wish more people would understand that. What is really your favorite part of using social media to reach people? Is there a particular favorite in
You
this?
mean a favorite site?
a
or
site or method or just
uh,
engagement.
I'm very much in the moment. I share things
Uh-huh.
when they come to mind. I'm not incredibly strategic. I don't use Hootsuite or other planning scheduling
Right.
software. I like to use the native apps both on my desktop and on the phone. I'm a big Facebook fan. You probably see me on Facebook more than
Sure.
anywhere. I think it's the greatest engagement tool we have. And news came out just today that Google Plus is finally going to pull that you have to have a Google Plus login integrated with the various services in order to use those services. So they're starting with pulling it from YouTube, and so Google Plus is slowly fading.
Right.
Clearly Google has failed again at
Yeah.
creating social, and Facebook is the king. And the irony is that I wrote the book on Twitter, literally, but I use Facebook more.
Right. And I was going to ask you about that as well because I was curious because I see you on Facebook all the time, but you did write The Power of Twitter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this and why do you think Twitter is still very important for businesses and non-businesses?
So I got on Twitter in 2007, and really in 2008 started to understand how it was the water cooler of our time, where people could
Yeah.
engage in quick conversations and be able to, as a brand, engage with customers in real time. And of course, seeing celebrities use it and is a medium for news to be able to get out there quickly. And so 2009, the first edition of Twitter Power came out. 2010, a second edition was updated, and it's been 5 years. So 2015 found us with the release of Twitter Power 3.0. There's more people on Twitter than ever before, though, granted, even with 300 million active users, that pales in comparison to Facebook's 1.4 billion. But the fact that there are 300 million people using it and that Twitter is so entrenched in pop culture, the hashtag, the @ symbol, movies and TV
Right.
shows and celebrities, it's here to stay. It's going to continue to evolve, and it might get bought, but it's here. It's here. It's not going anywhere, and because it's here, and because there's such a massive audience, brands that aren't engaged on Twitter in some capacity are doing so at their own peril because people are talking about you whether you're there or not.
Right. And I personally have been a big fan of Twitter. I use it all the time, and I use it more of a listening tool where I follow people in my field. I interact. What do you think is the biggest power for professionals to use Twitter right now in 2015? Attorneys and people that like.
Oh, well, gosh, just, listening, what you said there
Yeah.
is really important. Rather than seeing it as a broadcast medium, as though you're taking your soapbox and setting it up in the middle of town square and, using a megaphone, using it to listen, to be searched for specific hashtags that are relevant to your industry and see what people are saying. And that's going to turn the light bulb on for you about how you can bring value. It's looking for those opportunities to engage in a way that says, I can help with that. I know the answer to that. I have thoughts about that. That's how you build a following because people see that you know something. When we like somebody on Twitter, we follow them. And as we see the value they bring in their tweets and whether they're about the value and helping others or all about themselves, we get to know them. And it's once we see which side is it on, we decide whether or not we trust that person. And so, businesses that aren't engaged by listening and engaging are missing out on where the real power of Twitter lies.
And I think in that book you put some good up-to-date techniques and some insights as to how we can use it more effectively. And I'm gonna link the Amazon link for the book if anybody's interested to get it. I highly recommend it.
Great, and it just might pay to note that the Twitter Power series is the top-selling book in the world on Twitter, and we just came out with the audiobook version for those that prefer to listen.
Oh wow, excellent! I should have downloaded it before my trip. Maybe I can do it from here.
It just came on like the last week,
Oh
so yeah,
okay,
you can grab it now.
I'll do it. Excellent. And Joel, I see that we talk about social media and the importance of this, and you're one of the biggest evangelists of this. But I've noticed that you've done something different in the last couple of years, focusing more on the social movement. And tell me a little bit about the good do good stuff movement and your T-shirts and what's behind it, because I'm interested in, and in fact you inspired me to start my own movement, part of the Enchanting Way. It's called Start with a Smile, and I can tell you more about it. But I'm curious to see why you've taken this offline effort and brought it out to the people. So tell me about it then more.
Well, sure. It's actually been a number of years that I've had email newsletter for my subscribers.
Okay.
And back in 2004, 2005, when I started, I was signing my emails, live life today. It was an inspirational, type of thought about, today's all we have for sure. We know that we have today. So go ahead and live life. But as I began going to events and helping people as often as I could, I recognized that really good things began happening to me. Opportunities opened up like never before. And I came to the conclusion that as long as you're doing good in the world, helping others, you can't really outgive from the resources that you have. It's kind of like the law of sowing and reaping, and some call it karma. The more good stuff you put out there to help others, the more good stuff comes back to you.
Right.
So I started signing my emails, do good stuff, and have so for a number of years. And I can't remember, I think the inspiration came from Chris Wittenberg's brand, Be Good to People.
Uh-huh.
She sent me a Be Good to People t-shirt. And I noticed that when I wore the t-shirt, it made me a better person. You can't
Yeah.
be a jerk to somebody at the line of the grocery store when you're wearing a Be Good to People shirt. You can't do it.
Right.
It made me conscientious, more self-aware of my thought processes, and who was getting under my skin, and how did I want to react. And so I thought, what if I take this do good stuff and design a logo and slap it on a t-shirt and some stickers and see if people respond. And the first campaign we did for Do Good Stuff shirts was, I think it was a 10-day campaign, and we sold like 170 shirts.
Wow.
And people are posting pictures of themselves with it. And now I'm seeing some of my peers that bought them are getting on stage and speaking with them. Croy Sather sent me a picture. E. Brian Rose, the founder of JVZoo.com,
Wow.
spoke from stage, in it the other day. And I'm like, okay, there's something here that's resonating with people, and I'm not exactly sure where it's going. Would love to see it blow up more, but the idea behind it is to encourage people to get out there and do good stuff. Whatever that means to you, just do good.
Right. And it just it's a simple idea, but it makes you feel good, and it's something that you can always identify with. So I mean I love it myself, and I haven't had a chance to get a T-shirt yet, but I'll do it when I get back to the U.S. and I'll start wearing it.
There you go.
But to me it's very inspiring. Joel, as we come to the end of the show, I have to ask you about this one thing, and I'm sure you probably get asked about it a lot in your interviews. The feeling of success that you never expected, and in your case, it happened with a simple, stupid app. Why don't you tell us the story of the iFart?
Yeah, back in 2007 when the
Yeah.
iPhone came out, I had to have one, and
Right.
I had it I think 2 weeks after the device came out. I gladly paid $600 for it, and I've had just about every device since. Well, in 2008, it was summer when Steve Jobs and Apple announced that they were making a software development kit available. So at that time, I had a team, and I pulled everybody into the conference room, and we began whiteboarding all kinds of ideas. And what's funny is some of the ideas we whiteboarded, somebody else ended up developing. Like the idea for Foursquare, I
Yeah.
remember that as clear as day. We talked about, let's
No.
create an app where people check in from locations, and
Wow.
there was a whole litany of them. But there was one idea that when we put it on the whiteboard, everybody just busted a gut. We started laughing, and I thought, how hard would it be to create this stupid, as you say, fart sound machine.
Yeah.
And we had it done in a few weeks. And it went to number one in the world in the App Store, not in a category, not
Wow.
just the US, but in the world. It was all over the media in foreign languages. It's been used by celebrities. It got me a segment on Jon Stewart's Daily Show. George Clooney says he has it on his phone. So it's been a lot of fun. And, we haven't had an update for that app in 4 years. I
Wow.
took a sabbatical and I've been focused on other projects. And right now we are finally developing an update to iFart, and it should be ready in about a month. And it's going to be called iFart Second Wind.
Oh wow. I'm happy that you announced it on this podcast. So
There you go. It's coming soon. And we
excellent.
hope that it explodes and makes a big stink worldwide.
Oh yeah, and I'll make sure to download this for sure. I'll be
Here's the thing, Jacob. And a lot of people would see that as embarrassing. And I think it's real. I think it's funny. I think it's fun. We know that especially guys, think farts are funny. And it turns out when I speak from the stage and I demonstrate this, the women love it. They think it's hilarious. And, having the guts to say, I don't care what people think. I'm going to do this anyway, and let's see what happens, is really the core of why it was successful.
right, exactly. And I think as we end the show, maybe we can take that as a lesson that sometimes you never know. You try it, and it could be successful, and it
Let
applies
that
to
be a
anything.
lesson to you.
Right? Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Joel. If anybody wants to find you online, what's the best place to find you? Your Twitter handle,
Uh,
your website.
yeah, I'm Joel Comm everywhere. I'm the only Joel Comm that I know of in the world. So joelcomm.com, at Joel Comm on Twitter, facebook.com/Joel Comm. You can find me any of those places. Would love for you to connect with me.
Perfect, and we'll make sure to link all your the book and everything in our show notes. Once again, Joel, thanks for taking the time. It was a true pleasure, and I always enjoy reading and following you online.
Thanks, Jacob.
And thank you, all listeners, for tuning in every week. And we'll catch you in the next show. Signing off from France, Jacob here.